Hello, and welcome to today's webinar on our StreamLine Solutions and how to accelerate AP processing with intuitive AI. I'm Pam Benke, the Director of Product Marketing for KnowledgeLake, and we're thrilled to have you here. Today, we'll be discussing how workflow, automation, and intuitive AI come together to enhance your AP processes, sharing compelling stories and insights. But before we begin, a few housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded and available for later viewing on demand. We also encourage your participation, so please feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and we'll address them during the Q&A session. Our speakers today are Bart Peluso, Vice President of Marketing for KnowledgeLake, and Nick Heimbrock, Senior Product Manager. And now I'll hand it over to Bart.
Thanks, Pam. Accounts payable is a critical element to business success. There's an old joke about the ice cream factory. Couldn't pay its bills and the whole place went into liquidation. Accounts payable is really important and it has tax implications as well. The truth is, it actually costs companies a lot just to pay the bills. The average size American firm processes 120,000 invoices at a cost of about $13 per paper invoice, and half of the invoices out there are still on paper. That equates to over $1 million cost for an average size firm with 500 employees just to pay the bills. The best in class benchmark per invoice is to get it down to $1. That's a significant decline, and it really makes an impact on business. Today, we're going to talk about ways to reach that goal. Now, accounting is all about effective cash flow. Most chief financial officers can recap the last 90 days, but few out there can predict cash flow for the next 90 days. There's basically two types of accounts payable departments. There's centralized and decentralized. And both deal with the three primary steps of paying an invoice. First, the invoice has to be approved for payment and then coded or categorized. Finally, it's posted. And today, posting means integration, whether it's Dynamics or SAP, NetSuite, QuickBooks, it has to be posted. We have here at KnowledgeLake 158 customers. And most all of them are using our enterprise content management platform for what we call intelligence account payable. But an ECM platform is only one methodology because there's more involved. When we're approving, coding, and posting invoices, there's two-way matching. That's where the invoice is matched up to the purchase order. And there's also three-way matching, where the invoice is linked not just to the purchase order, but also to the packing slip. So let's take a look at what's out there in terms of options to solve for this AP dilemma. Overall, the goal is to drive accounts payable costs down and also ensure what we call future proofing. The first of the methodologies to solve for AP is manual on-premise, right? There are still many, many shops out there that employ 6 to 10 people, particularly small businesses, and they are running independent manual processes. The second is procure-to-pay solutions. This is your BASware, Basware, Esker, Concur, Coupa. These solutions work well in terms of paying the invoices, but they don't manage the data. And that's becoming more and more important each day. The third is known as functional point solutions. Now, of course, you have your SAP, NetSuite, but as it relates to the extraction of the data of the document, there's Abby, there's the automation from UiPath or other automation companies, Pega. These involve really big contracts big IT shops and development required. And you'll see that the Fortune 500 typically deploys these point solutions and uses them in aggregate for accounts payable. Finally, there's turnkey ECM platforms like KnowledgeLake. These began as SharePoint companies with the SharePoint origination from Microsoft. They must integrate IDP, or intelligent document processing. That's the extraction of the data off the invoice, also known as capture. They also require RPA, robotic process automation, to automate what's happening, not just with the invoice, but with the data as well. Intuitive AI, working with AI in terms of future-proofing is very important. Overall, cloud platforms need to be cloud native. So when you look back at some of these enterprise content management systems, they started on premise and then they're kind of adopted to the web. But KnowledgeLake and the best of them out there are cloud native and built for clouds such as Azure. Overall, it provides an effective cash flow centric accounts payable organization, eliminating the pain of vendor calls and late payments, which is the result of slowed accounts payable and also the reason for the increased costs. Let me show you how a smart accounts payable platform works. First off, you have your invoice processing. This is the ingestion of the invoice into the system and the extraction of the data from it. You want that extraction to be instantaneous without writing rules or training. The second piece of it is the workflow processing, better known as workflow automation. This is where it kicks off an automated task or a full workflow involving both people and bots. This is what you do with the data from the invoice and the invoice itself. Finally, there's managing the accounts payable records. This is the content management, releasing the invoices and their data to any repository so your employees can find documents and data instantly, regardless of where they sit within IT. Now, all this sits on an intelligent enterprise content management platform. I mentioned before, cloud native. You want SOX 2 compliance. You want HIPAA compliant. You want it to be virtually up all the time. We've been doing this for 20 years and are proud to have 99.99% uptime with a really high NPS score. So sitting in the middle of the processing of the invoice and the platform can be pre-built processes. So our customers out there are using workflow automation and RPA to build a process, but we found that virtually all our customers have the same use cases. And one of those use cases is accounts payable. So we have built a pre-built process, and we call that StreamLine Solutions for accounts payable, in order to provide a turnkey methodology within this process. I'm going to jump into StreamLine right now, but first reference Intuitive AI. You may have heard of these new generative AI tools. Intuitive AI enables the user of our platform to reach out and have questions answered. But what's critical is that the question and the response from a large language model all stays within the user's tenant. Nothing leaves the company and goes out in the public domain. Okay, let's double click down on StreamLine Solutions. The streamlined solution for accounts payable is customized for your invoice processing. So we have a pre-built solution, and then we customize it for your organization. But there's 4 key components to that pre-built process, if you will. The first is a customer experience portal. This is a portal that's pre-built with your logo, your information for your vendors to interact with you. So the portal is turnkey. It doesn't have to be built. The second is customizable pro forms. These are the forms that are used to collect the data or kick off a process. And this offers a depth of options for customization as it relates to your accounts payable department. The third is an enhanced workflow engine. This is a designer that gives you the power you need with just drag and drop experience, so you can design your own workflows without code. And the fourth component is that intuitive AI, the ability to use a large language model without leaking any of your data outside of your company to answer questions about a specific invoice or a group of invoices. Let's take a look at it. Very simple. A user-friendly here portal where you're looking at the invoice and capturing the information off that invoice. I'm stealing a little bit of Nick's thunder here as he's going to walk you through a live demo, but I did want to show how this information is pulled right off the invoice with zero training. It's really the best of both worlds between traditional document processing and processing with intuitive AI. The key is that we can also synthesize questions off the invoice, including what is the latest date I can pay this invoice and still get the 210 discount? Or can you summarize this invoice? Or can you compare this invoice to other vendors in the area? In using the intuitive AI component, the answers are right there to the right-hand side. So you're typing in a question using simple real language, not rules-based or code. Just literally type out what is the deadline for a discount on this invoice. So what is this invoice per piece compared to other vendors in this space? So there's no more training invoices with rule sets at the invoice level. There's no more need for fingerprints by vendors to improve the accuracy. And it'll classify all invoices with really high accuracy. We're proud of our accuracy numbers in dealing with things like handwriting and watermarks. So you can ensure your 2 net 10 discount or whatever discount you can get. You can ensure compliance to whatever organizations that you adhere to, and have intelligent approvals, even fraud alerts, right? And provide your users with deep researching capabilities. With that, I've talked a lot about the platform and how it deals with invoices. At this point, we can turn it over to a live demonstration with Nick. Nick, can you take it from here?
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Bart. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So now let's take a deeper dive into how KnowledgeLake can help you streamline your AP process. So in this example, I have just received an electronic invoice from one of my many vendors. KnowledgeLake makes it easy to get that invoice off of my desktop and into my AP workflow. And this quick upload is just one of the many ways that invoices can be submitted. We also have an Outlook integration, a robust scanning solution for all those paper documents you occasionally receive. And we can even watch certain folders or email inboxes for automated scheduled importing of documents. You can also use our customer portal to request invoices in a secure way. So here I have my invoice loaded up. And on this screen, I don't need to key in any data, as KnowledgeLake's intuitive AI will take care of that for me. So now that our invoice has been submitted, our workflow is kicked off. And now let's take a look at what that workflow is built to do. And we can do that by opening it up inside of our drag and drop workflow designer. As you can see, workflows in KnowledgeLake are built using steps dragged over from our toolbox and configured to fit your needs. Our interface makes it a breeze to build out and manage each of your workflows. And our sophisticated routing system incorporates your business rules to ensure invoices are routed and processed correctly. And it's all laid out on this simple to read canvas. So let's walk through the workflow I have set up, and I'm going to cover these portal steps in just a moment. So at a high level, our invoices first go through intuitive AI to have all the important data extracted off the pages of the invoice. Next, we will assign an approver. And this can be done either manually or automatically based on your invoice data, business rules, and delegation of authority policies. You can also see in this workflow that it can split off into a different branch. And this one is configured for auto-approving invoices that meet a certain criteria. They'll all be routed down to the posting step, and our other branch will meet up with that one once it's done going through the approval and coding phase. So going back to this branch, we next have the approve and coding screen. And so with this task, we provide a clean, focused experience for the approver to approve and code the invoice. Once they've done that, the coding is reviewed by the AP team to ensure that everything is correct. And they can also make any kind of corrections they need to at this time. Next, we use robotic process automation, or RPA, to automate the posting of the invoice data into Dynamics 365 or any other line of business system of your choice, so it can be finalized for payment. And lastly, our document is uploaded to the content repository along with its metadata so that it can be easily retrieved when needed. And all along the way, we're tracking the status of this invoice. And this status can be made available to the vendor so that they can get transparency into the process and know where the invoice is at. And this helps reduce calls and emails to the accounting team requesting that information. All right, so now let's take a look at what the status tracking in the portal looks like. So as a vendor, I can be notified when the invoice is received. I will then get access to the secure portal. And once I log in, I just find the invoice that I'm tracking, and I'm able to see where it's at. This screen provides an easy to read view of a simplified version of the workflow. It doesn't show all the steps in the workflow, but just what you want them to see. Currently, this one's sitting at received. So next we can go check out our invoice. At this point, it's gone through intuitive AI, and all the information I care about has been captured, as you can see here. This is a review screen where I can see the invoice document itself, along with all the captured metadata. Using intuitive AI, not only can I extract values, exact values off of the invoice, but I can also synthesize the answers to questions and have those populated as well. This vendor offers an early pay discount, and I'm able to use AI to calculate which day this invoice needs to be paid in order to receive that discount. And if any values are incorrect or fail one of my validation rules, I can make corrections right in here. And now all this data looks good. So now the workflow will determine an approver based on the invoice amount, the PO number, and my delegation of authority policy. And that person will be assigned a task to approve and code the invoice. And they'll receive an email notifying them that they're ready to do so. So let's go find that task. I could browse to my inbox as the approver. And I can see I have a task waiting for me to approve and code. The task layout that you see here can be customized to provide the approving and coding experience you want for your users. In this case, I have a preview of the document on the left-hand side, all my extracted information about the invoice on the right, and a coding interface down below. This layout shows me all the information I need in order to code that invoice. If I need additional information, even pulled maybe from another system, that's okay. We can create an integration and show that data on this screen as well. So I'll go ahead and mark this invoice as complete and provide a coding. And everything looks good, so I'm ready to submit this invoice to posting. All right, so now the poster will get a task for them to verify all the information. And they can make any kind of corrections on this screen as needed. They can view the coding that was done and make any kind of edits that they need to. But all looks good here. So we'll go ahead and push this invoice data to Dynamics 365. So next, robotic process automation, or RPA, is used to push the data from the invoice to Dynamics or any other line of business system completely unassisted. It works by itself, freeing up the accounting team to focus on other tasks besides data entry. And since this is usually done behind the scenes, here's a quick video of the bot in action. It knows which screens to click and where to push the information so that the task is consistently completed every time. And the user doesn't have to copy data from one screen to another for every single invoice that they process. All right. And now that the invoice is finalized, we push it to the repository for storage. And when needed, I can use KnowledgeLake's targeted search to find the invoice or any other set of documents I need when I need them. So hopefully this shows you all the exciting ways that KnowledgeLake can streamline your AP process, minimizing manual work, allowing you to pay invoices quicker, and even doing things like take advantage of early pay discounts, saving you even more money. It's also important to remember that every piece of this solution can be tailored to fit your process and work with your accounting systems. All right.
Great. Thanks, Nick. That was wonderful. Really excited to see how KnowledgeLake works and intuitive AI in particular. So at this time, we can cover the fact that we are opening up a proof of concept for anyone who's interested in trying this out for themselves. There is going to be a form in the attachment section that it's a URL that you can click, or you can email me. Here's my email address, pamela.banky@knowledgelake.com, and we will get back to you. There's only 5 spots open, so I do encourage you to submit for that POC. And with that, we will open it up to some questions. I'm sure everyone's wondering a little bit more in terms of how intuitive AI and StreamLine Solutions will work for their business. In fact, here's one question. What's the easiest way to add intuitive AI to my AP processes? Bart, do you want to take that?
Sure, I'll take the first stab, and then Nick may have some additional information. Right, so we built the intuitive AI component into the platform in and of itself. So within that platform, you have the content management, you have the intelligent document processing and the capture off the document, the automation capabilities, the workflow capabilities, and the AI component. And once again, that does stay, within your tenant.
Yeah, so just add on a little more to that. So when you purchase KnowledgeLake StreamLine for AP, you get intuitive AI as part of that. And so we have zero-shot training for invoices, meaning that it doesn't require any training at all in order to start processing your invoices. So it can work day one out of the box. And as far as adding it to your process when the workflow is built out as part of your StreamLine solution, it's as simple as dragging one of those steps onto your workflow and baking it right in. So it really is simple to add intuitive AI to your AP workflow.
Great. We've got another question. How long has KnowledgeLake been using AI?
I'll hand that to you, Nick.
Oh, sure. Well, so KnowledgeLake has historically been using AI for advanced capture for many years now. And so we have our own proprietary technology that we've used for classification and extraction of invoices and other documents. With the advent of generative AI over this past year, we've worked to incorporate that into our platform so that it works in concert with our own IP that we've developed. So we use both, generative AI tools plus KnowledgeLake proprietary classification and extraction to get the best results possible for classifying invoices and extracting data off of them.
Great. The next question we have coming in is, what LLM, large language model, are you using?
We're using Microsoft's iteration of OpenAI.
Great. Nick, did you want to add to that?
Oh, I can't. Yeah. So we're using, they flavor it Azure OpenAI. And so we're currently using that as part of, like I mentioned before, using that as our generative AI that's coupled with the KnowledgeLake's IP in order to do the automatic classification extraction.
Great. Here's something I think, Bart, you touched on earlier in terms of handwriting. Can you handle documents, or can KnowledgeLake handle documents that contain handwriting?
Yes, and I think we do it very well. We got called out and starred by an analyst organization, Everest, for our outstanding abilities in the IDP space. So we've been handling all types of handwriting. And there's one account that's kind of tangential to that, but that's picking up things off an invoice that may or may not be handwriting, like a watermark. So we do a lot of work with universities. Universities have to deal with transcripts, and sometimes a transcript of the school will list the classes and the grades. They won't have the name of the school, but KnowledgeLake will go ahead and pull it right off the watermark, which is pretty impressive for Washington University and some of the other universities that are using our product.
Great. And don't forget, any other questions, please put them in the chat. Here's one that kind of touches on change management. How do you recommend managing the change within an organization as it transitions to more AI-driven processes, especially in terms of employee training and adoption?
Yeah, so we advocate, what we call the co-pilot approach, right? You'll hear that from Microsoft, meaning these are tools to help people become more productive, right? To up-level their contribution to the organization so they can make smarter decisions, they can make decisions faster, and then they can manage at a higher level. And the AI, the generative AI component almost becomes, a helper to them, an employee of them.
Great. You also, Bart, mentioned earlier, StreamLine Solutions, KnowledgeLake offers a variety of them. So here's a question that came in about what other StreamLine solutions do you offer?
Oh, the one I'm pretty excited about is client onboarding. So there may be a subsequent webinar on that. Also, there's one in the space of HR. Nick, what else do we have?
Oh, sure. As you mentioned, education, so processing transcripts. We have a streamlined solution for that. Also, financial services. So the doing loan document onboarding. We streamline that as well. And we also have some around government-based processes for those government organizations.
Wonderful. Here's another one. What are the ethical considerations we should be aware of when implementing AI, particularly with regards to customer data handling and privacy?
Yeah, the two big ones, of course, are security, right? And I reiterated a few times how Azure specifically has a mechanism that keeps queries and answers within the Azure tenant. And through KnowledgeLake, we're keeping that data within your tenant using our platform. So therefore, you're accessing a large language model and all the information in the world, right? But your question and the answer is not leaving that tenant. So that's security is really important. The other is a new term that I've been hearing, you may have heard as well, hallucinations. It's not a throwback to the 60s. What hallucinations are is when you're not getting very specific and accurate responses from generative AI. So you'll ask it a question and it might misrepresent the query. We don't see that much at all in the realm of invoices because of the specificity, but there are safeguards to deal with these hallucinations. Nick, do you have any additional thoughts on that second component, hallucinations?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, that's one of the challenges with generative AI is when it's confidently incorrect, and you have to have a way of identifying that, and especially for critical business processes, you can't have bad data getting into your system. And so one of the things that we do is we provide great data validation tools that you can set up for your processes, so that when it's processed by KnowledgeLake, we have that last layer of validation for each of the different pieces of data that we extract to make sure that it follows proper format. We can even do lookups to databases for that kind of validation. So, we do have quite a few safeguards in place to make sure that, you maintain good data hygiene throughout your processes.
Excellent. I like that term, confidently incorrect. It relates to my teenage kids.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I don't see any other questions at this time. So I will take a moment to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. Any closing thoughts, Bart, Nick?
We love what we do here at KnowledgeLake, and we work with a lot of customers very, very specifically. We get up and running quite quickly, a week or two, and the whole system can be up and running. So we really look forward to hearing from you, and take advantage of the proof of concept and see what we can do for you in terms of accelerating your accounts payable.
Yeah, I'm very excited about what intuitive AI can do for organizations, streamlining their AP process. The fact that we can have zero shot or no training necessary processing of documents on day one is staggering and something that we haven't been able to do until recently. And so, I think this provides tremendous value to any kind of organization.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, and have a great rest of the day.